Alright, this video is going to be a bit more unscripted than usual. I have been thinking a lot lately about how I just don't seem to have the attention span that I used to have in many ways. It's something where, like I'm an adult now, as much as that pains me to say. And it's something where, there's a lot more times where I just sort of end up like I'll try out like a TV show and I'll just be like one episode in and I'll just be like, you know what? I don't care. I'm not going to watch it. Start reading a book, get like a third of the way through it, put it down. Go, you know what? I don't care. I'm not finishing this. And this happens a lot more, of course, than it ever used to. And it gives me the impression at times that I have a much shorter attention span. I can't really focus on things. I'm constantly just kind of being, drawn from one place to the next. And I, don't have any focus to sort of, or intentionality to the way that I consume media. Where, when I was a kid, it was like I would pick something up and I would just, boom, I'd finish it. Boom, I'd finish it, every single thing. And I've been thinking a lot about it, and I don't really think that the idea that I don't have as much of an attention span is true. Like you hear a lot nowadays about how it's like, oh, social media is frying our brains, and the internet has made it so all we care about is little bite-sized bits of information. We don't have the time and the energy to focus on big things anymore like we used to. And that's just not true, because I do. I think about it a lot, and I'm a lot more able to focus on things in reality. There are things like I've been working on projects for years in ways that I just like did not have the time or the patience or the energy for as a kid, especially professional things. When I was a kid, this is maybe telling on myself a little bit, I got really, really into RPG Maker 2000, which, I was like, okay, I'm going to build the next great RPG. And, that, lasted all of like a week or two. And I made like, I don't know, maybe like a little starting zone and like, like a main character who talks to his mom. And then, that was like, that was it. Like I didn't get any further than that. I didn't actually, have that level of focus when I was a kid, because I just couldn't focus on things that were work. As a kid, I had so much more energy to focus on things because they were things that were play. I was just like consuming media. I was doing stuff for fun. I just had endless free time to just do stuff for fun. And so, of course, I wouldn't, be like worrying about like, hey, is it better for me to be doing this, or should I actually be spending my time doing something that's going to be more beneficial to me in the long run? And I think that's really the difference. It's not that I am, worse at focusing. It is that I have a lot more focus for the things that matter, and I have a lot less focus for the things that just don't matter. There are a lot of things that I would have enjoyed a lot more as a kid that I don't enjoy now, simply because I am an adult. I have things to do. I have stuff to work on. And I have these projects that in many cases are projects that I've been working on for years at a time. I don't want to waste that effort, so I want to continue that effort with good effort. I want to finish up the things that I have started doing and that I have committed to. If you had asked me as a kid if I was capable of lifting weights, every couple of days for, the next 16 years, like, God knows if that would have, like, I didn't. I absolutely didn't. Like, it was a huge shift, a fundamental change in my life at the age of 16 when I started lifting weights, because that was so different to what I had been doing before. Before, I hadn't had that level of focus. I hadn't had anything that organized or guided my life in that way. And there's a trade-off there. There's the fact that I am focused on that and I am committed to that. That's a commitment, that's a time commitment that lasts for the rest of my life. And that means that now, very often, when I have a lot of things weighing on my attention, things that are vying for my attention, it's like, hey, would I sit down and, read another book? Or, maybe I need to go to the gym, or maybe I need to take care of my kids, or maybe I need to run to the store and, get ingredients for dinner. I have so many things that I need to be doing that I simply don't have as much time, I don't have as much energy to focus on just sitting down and wasting a lot of time reading a book that's not going to, really do much aside from just reading it and enjoying it, for example. And I also just find that I'm a lot more discerning because of this, like when every minute of my life, when every minute of my time means a lot more to me, and I have to really decide, okay, how I'm gonna spend this minute that's best going to enrich me both now and for the rest of my life. Not only in terms of my short term, but also in terms of my long-term happiness. There's a lot of things that I did as a kid that were absolutely huge wastes of my time. There were absolutely things where I would read books and I would get, halfway into it and I'd be like, this book sucks, I don't want to finish it. And then I would force myself to finish it anyway. And why? The answer is because I had free time. I didn't have anything better to do. I didn't have other things that I had to prioritize. And so I would just be like, okay, well, I guess I might as well finish this because I'm halfway done anyway. Whereas nowadays, again, I might read that book, get halfway through it and say, you know what? This isn't worth my time. I'm done. I'm a lot more discerning. There's a lot of stuff that I liked when I was a kid just because I was a stupid kid. There are a lot of video games that I, played back then that it's just like you try and play it nowadays and you're like, the difference is not that the game is worse. The difference is not that my tastes have changed. It's that I just don't have the time to sink into getting 20, 30 hours into, relatively mediocre game to get to the good part. If it takes 20, 30 hours to get to the good part, why am I wasting my time? If you're not showing me some of the good part from, the first minute, then maybe, it's not worth it. Maybe it's not a good way to use my time. And you look at the things that I actually do in terms of my projects. I've been engaged in a 16-year-long project to lift weights, to get stronger, to get healthier, to get more jacked. And that's ongoing, and that turned into a business. And that turned into a business that I have to do a lot of upkeep on in terms of managing clients and making content and things like that. And that enriches me and that makes me feel good because I have created something that is valuable and meaningful to people. And then, of course, you think about the fact that I have been engaged in a multi-year process of learning additional languages because that's just something that I realized I really enjoy doing. And, I don't want to waste the effort that I've put into it already. So I continue to practice every single day. And then there are things like the fact that I have been, yes, and this is kind of silly, but it's like I pick back up World of Warcraft or RuneScape, and I put a lot more time into it than I was really capable of doing as a kid, because maybe I would play for, a few months, and then something else would come out, and I would get into that instead. I have a lot more focus to the extent where I can play these games sometimes for months or years at a time, because I have, prioritized. I've sorted out the stuff that matters to me and the stuff that doesn't, and I've focused only on the stuff that does matter, and I am able to focus on it a lot more intently. Of course, the drawback is just that I can't focus on the things that don't matter, but that's not necessarily a negative, right? That's a good thing, actually. It just feels like a negative. You live in a society where you're kind of expected to be good at everything. You're expected that you should be trying to do your best at everything all the time. You should be finishing every single thing that you start. You should be finishing every single project you pick up. And the reality is that many of those projects are not going to be meaningful or useful. The reality is that many of the things that you might start are not worth finishing. And in many cases, quitting is in fact a really good thing. It helps you to declutter your life. It helps you to take away that energy that would be wasted on things that are not beneficial to you and refocus it on the things that do. So the reality is no, I haven't gotten, less focused as I get older. I don't have more trouble focusing on things. I just am better at focusing on the things that matter and better at dropping the things that don't. And I have to because I'm an adult. I just have to. You have to manage your time as an adult. You have less time to manage. You have more things going on. And that's, just the reality of things. So that is all for this week's video. I hope you enjoyed it. As always, don't hesitate to like, comment down below, subscribe, smash that notification bell. Let me know what you would like to see in future videos. I will talk to you all next week. Have a good one.